Hey guys, so the question is, did Beirut's silo ever actually fall into the ocean on Yom Kippur? Isn't that interesting? None of us can find out. Why? Because can't find anyone. Is anybody hurt? Go ahead on to Twitter Advanced Search. There's nothing past September 10th. Like no updates, no pictures, nothing. There was a scheduled benefit that was supposed to happen on the actual dock that was supposed to happen on September 19th. No video. There was like a single screenshot happened. And all that is a bright soundstage. It's all since September 10th, everything went silent. The last thing I've heard from people, I've heard there's been evacuations. I have heard I've seen video of a massive, like 1,000-ton grain train sent from Tartus to Damascus, which is interesting because Damascus is east of Beirut. It wasn't sent to Beirut. It was sent to Damascus, which I thought was interesting. But who did send aid to Beirut was India. India was the one who came. France just sent Macron for a day, who went around and gave hugs. Israel said they'd send aid. We didn't see it. Who sent aid? Who actually sent aid? Who sent aid was India. India. The last time we heard about India relating to that port was when Alexander the Great went to battle with India. Way long BC, and Alexander the Great lost. Interesting. And then, interestingly enough, a single person didn't take over his empire. It was split among 4 generals, as if somebody else was ruling in charge. Have you ever heard of, like, India? Everyone says, oh, India didn't take over. I'm like, really? India beat Alexander the Great, but India didn't take Persia. Does that make sense to you? And here we are, 1,000 years later, and boom, India's sending the Persian port, ta-da, 58 metric tons of aid. And also, my Indian friends have been freaking out. Like, they've been losing their crap, and they haven't said anything, but it took weeks to notice it, like, to clock it. Finally, it took, like, forever, and it wasn't until last weekend that I was like, oh my God, like, we actually had to go through it, and I was like, it was horrible. It was a horrible thing, because how do you link it, and we don't link race, we don't do anything. It's a horrible thing to finally put race and religion and India and location, because, people are transplants and people are, this whole 9 yards, and I don't know, Americans, I don't think Americans who are born or natives here do that so easily. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't think that's the natural instinct, is to go, well, Beirut or Lebanon. It would just, again, that Beirut port, it's not linked to India. But it all stretches back to that day, literally August 4th. Notice in your lives, has anyone started not working as much? Has their work dropped off? Do they blame it on something else, or just be like, have they started acting huffy? Have they started throwing fits at work? Have new behaviors cropped up? It's been very interesting to see that around. The photos I've noticed of the port running up to September 10th, that thing is tilted the house. The best one that got the best photo is taken around September 10th, and it's like there are 2 soldiers. You can see it really tilted because September 10th there was this huge fire, and I just got another photo of it recently, and you can tell it's going down. I mean, you can tell the base of it's not the top of it tilted anymore. It was taken from the other side where all the other original photos were taken of the thing, and it's just completely, the base of it's completely just, you can see it looks like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, Pisa, if you've ever heard of that. Looks exactly like that. I mean, it's going into the ocean. It's just a question of when. The final thing that I have heard from people that were in Beirut or visited Beirut, and that's the other, let me get ahead of myself, is that I've heard of explosions underneath or fighting underneath, things that sound like fighting underneath. And maybe that's why people started evacuating. But I'm guessing at that. That's not the reason anyone I know that's evacuated. That's not the reason that was given. Does that make sense? Like the reason at the top when evacuation started happening. I don't know the reason at the top why that was happening. I just know that people evacuating were saying they were hearing that underneath. Like there are rumors all throughout the city. And what's interesting is the city, when you looked up Beirut, they said Beirut was 400,000 people, like 300 to 400,000 people. That's not. It's 1 to 2 million people in the larger Beirut area. I don't know how much of that was actually destroyed. But what's interesting to me is like how much it's just dropped off the face. So I've been thinking that Twitter has been censoring it. Now I'm using it to advanced search. You use advanced search as well. Now I'm starting to think no one's there to report on it. Just that's the feeling I'm getting from the way I'm searching on it. I don't think people are there to report on it. You go ahead and search, do Twitter advanced search. I don't think people are there to say anything. Like there used to be people like right up until like September, right? Like 8th, right? People like September 6th, and 8th, there were people sharing like aerial photos flying over. Oh, lots of photos of people flying. Oh, interesting. All right. So the last thing, and that's my final point of that, is that I've never seen a city get hit where the international community just fought about it. If you put in the words Beirut in Twitter advanced search, no one's talking about it. There's like one tweet of Amnesty International. You find my tweets everywhere. No one's talking about it. And that's the final thing with revelations I'll say about this. As having this huge discussion with, I think it was 3, 2, whatever. Mostly it was one friend online that I was really going back and forth with. There are others on the line, but one friend and I were really going back and forth. And finally I realized, oh my gosh, that's what that means. Because they were like, well, why isn't anybody else talking about this city? Why isn't anybody else saying why isn't anybody else saying it's Babylon? Why isn't anybody else saying what you're saying? Why isn't anybody else, not anybody else in the world is, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's what Revelations 19 means. Like, that's what Revelations 19 means. I could not figure that out for the life of me. As an English lit major, I studied this intently. I mean, I even got in trouble with it with my, not all, it's some, like my professors loved me for it. My TAs hated me for it. Oh gosh, some of you guys won't know what that is. Okay, fine. Look it up. People will tell you online. So, but I got so into the details, like into the syllables. I got very much into the beats and the rhythms and the stanzas and how much this meant, because in English and in England, in the poets, like I said, rap was originally done. The art of rap was originally created by the Saxons. That was a Saxon art form. They were the originators of going into halls and improvisation, because you could be killed. You could be killed if you didn't improvise and say it in like this iambic pentameter type of bum, 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 and tell great tales of great warriors for the king, entertain the hall, on the beat, on the drum, with the fires. Dun, dun, dun. That's how Jabberwock came out, was from those bump-a-da-bump to tell the great tale. Da, 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 da. And if you didn't, and you didn't improvise with this extremely tight rhythm, and they had a lot of rules. Rap doesn't have that many rules today. So it's really, it comes from that. And that's why I'm like, who owns these record companies that push rap so much? Why did rap come up all of a sudden and be pushed on all of society? Why is that the number one art form pushed on all of the world right when Germany comes in charge? Doesn't anyone put that together? It's a German art form, like it's an Anglo-Saxon art form, I should say. And the German tribe that's the biggest are the Saxons. You know what I mean? Like what is it? Saxon-Coburg. The Saxe-Coburgs. Like, what is it? Saks Fifth Avenue. That's one form of their name. And the other one is Goldman Sachs. Because just because you're Goldman Sachs, that's the thing with English, is that same name spellings, the dictionary that solidified the way you spell things, that wasn't solidified until way late. Everything used to be just spelled phonetically. You just knew something by the way it sounded. We didn't get dictionaries and saying this is the way you spell something until later on in English. So Saxons were just like, if you know a Saxon by the name and the sound of the name, so a Saxon could go by S-A-X or S-A-X-E or S-A-C-H or S-A-K. Either way, everyone knew who you were when it said you were a Saxon. Just like it's Katherine. Oh, get it? Saxon Katherine. But I'm bump. Shh. And that's what I mean. I was made to study literature. That's why I know when Revelations 19 has like 4 stanzas after this destruction of Babylon of just angels in heaven praising, giving glory, before the next action happens. And that's not happening anywhere else in Revelation. And it doesn't really happen I'm just like, what is this? Why do the angels in heaven suddenly give glory I could not figure out what that meant, what it's supposed to tell us. I couldn't fit until I had this argument with this girl. And I was just like, rah, 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 and they were arguing, and they're like, no one else, I haven't seen anyone else ever, and blah, 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 blah. And finally I was like, that's the point of that. Maybe that's the point of Revelations 19, is that ain't nobody on earth gonna be like, yay, the city fell, or ain't nobody on earth gonna be talking about the city falling. It says everyone's just going to walk by and say it's a ghost town. Nobody's going to go there. No one's going to notice it. I mean, heck, I found a tweet today that said on August 4th, looks like a war zone. Straight out, it went from luxury to war zone in one day. And everyone just walked away. That was the end of it. India tried, and it was over. And apparently the only people talking about it, according to this thing, was going to happen in heaven. Wasn't going to happen on earth, according to this, which is interesting. Anyway, so that's my last and final thoughts on this, the whole of whether or not it fell into the thing. I don't know if we're going to hear about that or not, because there ain't nobody to see it, possibly. From the best of I know, like, we haven't heard any more Middle East peace from what we've heard about Middle East peace treaties, everyone's going over there and like enjoying it. They're just acting like this happened forever. They're enjoying it back and forth. They have started a new life, and that's it. And it's gone on as if they've always been at peace, and a whole new world has picked up there. And it's just like as if Beirut was never there. And I'm just like, I wonder about Damascus. I really wonder, like, what's going to happen to Damascus without Beirut? I mean, really, and what is going to happen to India? What's going to happen to India without Beirut? Like, how important was that city? Because one thing I will notice, there's a lot of explosions going on. I don't think that's stopping anytime soon. I think there's a lot of bounty to be found, but I don't think we're going to be hearing about it. I think the rest of the civilized world, the underground world, but they've never been online and out there on the papers. That world will keep on going, but the rest of the world is going to just move on. It sounds like. I mean, unless you can find people chatting about it. I mean, have you ever heard? There are still people talking about hurricane disaster relief, for heaven's sakes. Even when I went to my appointment, I heard people talking about the nuclear thing hit in Japan, a hurricane in Japan from years ago. And I'm like, that has more activity than Beirut. Interesting. All right. I think it's an indication that the city's possibly just cleared out, and that's that. Okay. All right. Love you guys so much. You can donate down below, just $1 a month. So great. Love you.